a little bit chillier. It's supposed to rain, but hope you guys can make it out for that. Tomorrow is going to be the vote on the House Speaker, obviously. It's going to be happening probably around 9 a.m. So I just want to do some housekeeping real quick. We're going to be essentially, the plan is to meet here around like 9 to 9:30. So we got that taken care of. You're here. Congrats, you made it. We're going to be marching around these buildings here and then crossing the street and then going all the way out to the front of Longworth, which is like directly in front of us right now. But we're going to be gathering there, having a series of speakers. Brianna Joy Gray is on her way. She's going to be speaking. We got Nick Brana from the People's Party who's going to be speaking, and Lee Camp, who also is going to be speaking. So, and I think Savage Joy Marie is also going to be there. So if you guys saw the Force the Vote town hall on Jimmy Dore's YouTube page, she's shared this very, very heartbreaking and moving story about her own personal, devastating crisis with the murderous healthcare industry in this country. So I think without further ado, I do want to practice a few chants with all of you. So give me a sec here, because we got to make some noise. We got to let them know we're here. So the first one is everybody in, nobody out. That's what healthcare is all about. So you guys want to do that one with me? Yeah. All right. 1, 2, 3. Everybody in, nobody out. That's what healthcare is all about. Beautiful. You guys sound amazing. So we'll get that one going. I think you guys sounded good. Second one is don't drop the ball, Medicare for all. We'll do that one twice. All right. 1, 2, 3. Don't drop the ball, Medicare for all. Don't drop the ball, Medicare for all. Nice. Last one. This one's a classic. You guys know this one. What do we want? Medicare for all. When do we want it? Now. All right, you guys get that one. So, again, I just want to say thank you. My deepest thanks to all of you for coming out. This is a crazy moment we are living in right now. 15 million people have lost their health insurance since the start of this pandemic. And that's adding on to some 90 million Americans who are either uninsured or underinsured at the moment. This is a crisis moment. And the people who are supposed to be fighting for this policy, the people who say they care about Medicare for all, they're content with the rules change that they just got. AOC was tweeting about that last night. She said, we got a rules change. Awesome. What does that mean unless you're actually willing to fight for a vote so that rules change can be implemented, right? It means nothing. So the fact that they are celebrating the rules change as a win and kind of trying to offer that to us as an alternative to actually establishing a vote on Medicare for all should be considered a sick joke to all of us. I mean, it's ridiculous. We're in the middle of a pandemic. 330,000 people have died, and they think a rules change is going to, silence us. It's gonna make us happy or something. It's a joke. So thank you for being here. You guys are doing the work that needs to be done. And I hope that we'll see you tomorrow. I know the weather is going to be an issue, but we hope to see you tomorrow. And the day after that, we're going to be celebrating, or we're going to continue protesting one way or another. Because I think the biggest thing that we have to let the squad, the progressive members of Congress, and the new incoming members of Congress know is that regardless of whether they make the right decision or the wrong decision, we are either going to have their backs or we're going to keep watching them. Just because they failed us doesn't mean that we're going to go away and just drift off into oblivion. And I think that's honestly like one of the biggest things that's frustrated me most over the past 2 years is that you see all this stuff happening on Twitter. You see these hashtags, you see things go trending about general strike or what have you. And it's like, okay, where's the movement? They've isolated us to Twitter. Where's the actual movement? So I do think this is the start of something, and I think we've tapped into pain that a lot of Americans are currently feeling. And I think this is just the beginning. So thank you guys for coming out. And with that, I guess we'll start our march around the buildings again. If there's anyone who doesn't feel like they would like to do the march, it's not that long. You can see the end of the street where we're going to be marching to. But if you wouldn't want to do that, you can just follow this road right here to the front of the building. And, you can gather there and wait for us to come around. So thank you guys, and let's get it. Let's get it.
All right, everybody, let's get going. Yeah. You can follow me over here.
Like the biggest challenge that we have. So, Philip, you want some help?
I'm good. I might take a shortcut. It's Rafi Montez.
All right.
That's true also. Yeah.
All right. All right, so they have, in Congress, they have felt that it's okay to, block off their offices. So originally we were going to have a sit-in in their offices because we recognize the crisis that we're currently facing, but they have blocked off their offices for COVID concerns. Even though I'm sure many of you have flown across the country in a small, plane, and that's been all right, but we can't go inside, so let's make sure they hear us when we're marching. All right, everybody, let's go.
Yeah.
First of all, let's go. Everybody in, nobody out. That's what healthcare is all about. Everybody in, nobody out. That's what healthcare is all about. Everybody in, nobody out. That's what healthcare is all about. Everybody in, nobody out. That's what healthcare is all about. Everybody in, nobody out. That's what healthcare is all about. Everybody in, nobody out. That's what healthcare is all about. What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
Why are you here?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
Don't drop the ball.
Medicare for all.
Don't drop the ball.
Medicare for all.
Don't drop the ball.
Medicare for all.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
Let them hear you. They're in their offices right now prepared to take a vote on the House speakership, and the squad and the progressives are ready to give it up with no concessions to Nancy Pelosi, who has given us nothing over the past 2 years. Why is it that we have an even larger group of progressives in the House now than we did 2 years ago, but they're still not fighting for us?
Because the president don't change the party, that's the right
Yes,
answer.
sir. Yes, sir. What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
I want you to let them hear it. What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
There are 68,000 people that die every year in this country because we don't have health care. What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
Everybody in, nobody out. That's what healthcare is all about. Everybody in, nobody out. That's what healthcare is all about. Everybody in, nobody out. That's what healthcare is all about. Everybody in, nobody out. That's what healthcare is all about. That's what healthcare is all about. What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And what do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And what do we want it?
Now.
You guys sound beautiful. You guys sound so great. I mean, it really is crazy what's going on right now. It's really crazy. All right. Don't drop the ball.
Medicare for all.
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 What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
Force the vote! 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 Force the vote!
Force the vote. Force the vote. Force the vote. Force the vote. Force the vote.
Force the vote!
Force the vote. Force the vote. Force the vote. Force the vote.
Force the vote on Medicare for all! Force the vote on Medicare for all! Force the vote!
Medicare for all.
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 What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
Force the vote!
Force the vote.
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 What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
And if we don't get it?
Shut it down.
And if we don't get it?
Shut it down.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
And if we don't get it?
Now.
If we don't get it?
Shut it down.
If we don't get it?
Shut it down.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
And if we don't get it?
Shut it down.
I said if we don't get it?
Shut it down.
All right, everybody. I mean, come on, come on. We got so many progressives in the house. Why can't one of them have a fucking backbone? Someone help them find their spines because they are failing us. The system has broken them down and they are failing us. They can't even fight for Medicare for all in the middle of a fucking pandemic. This is pathetic. This is pathetic. Everybody in, nobody out.
That's what healthcare is all about.
Everybody in,
Nobody out.
that's what healthcare is all about. Everybody in,
Nobody out.
that's what healthcare is all about. Everybody in, that's what healthcare is all about. What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? And when do we want it? And if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
what do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
And if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
this right here where we make a difference. This right here I'm gonna name AOC's office, Rashida Tlaib's office, Mark Pope's office, Nancy Pelosi's office.
I think it's probably closed.
You guys sound incredible. It's been amazing to hear. But I want you to even be louder when we go in front of their offices, okay? I want them to make complaints about us. I want them to complain about Medicare for All organizers in front of their offices on a beautiful morning like this. Let's cause some trouble. All right.
Good trouble.
All right. What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
What do we want?
Now.
And if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
and if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
what do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
And if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
and so if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
force the vote on Medicare for all. Force the vote.
Medicare for all.
Force the vote.
Medicare for all.
Force the vote.
Medicare for all.
Force the vote.
Medicare for all.
Force the vote.
Medicare for all.
Force the vote.
Medicare for all.
Force the vote.
Medicare for all.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want? And when do we want it?
Now.
And if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
I said if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
what do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
And if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
I said if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
don't drop the ball, Medicare for all. Don't drop the ball.
Medicare for all.
Don't drop the ball.
Medicare for all.
Don't drop the ball.
Medicare for all.
Don't drop the ball.
Medicare for all.
All right, everybody. What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And what do we want?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
What do we want?
Now. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Medicare for all. Now. Medicare for all.
Sarah Nelson.
All right, everybody. My voice is getting a little tired. Is there anyone else who'd like to help me? Hello? What's up, everybody? My name's Cassidy. All right. Like I just said, we're in the middle of the biggest fucking pandemic in history. And hundreds of millions of people are seeking their father health. So what the fuck do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
When?
Now.
When?
Now.
Don't drop the ball!
Medicare for all.
Don't drop the ball!
Medicare for all.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
And if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
now you know I think these people might get a reminder whose streets these are. Can you help me out? Whose streets are these?
Our streets.
Whose streets?
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 Our streets.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
Anybody want to be a spokesperson? Talk to me real quick. Anyone? That's all you, my guy. Anyone?
Sure.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
What do we want?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
And if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
we don't get it.
Shut it down.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
If we don't get it,
Shut it down.
if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
what do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
If we don't get it,
Shut it down.
I say if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
we don't get it.
Shut it down.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
If we don't get it,
Shut it down.
if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
alright, don't drop the ball.
Medicare for all.
Don't drop the ball.
Medicare for all.
Don't drop the ball.
You don't get to go home, you get to grab a sign. It's even better than you thought before.
Well, that's why I'm looking at Medicare for all.
Now. Medicare for all. Now. Medicare for all. Now. Shut it down. Shut it down.
So like we were saying, I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic. 15 million people have lost their health insurance. Thousands of people are dying on a daily basis. What we need right now is for the progressives to fight, to leverage a tiny bit of their power. Just a tiny bit of their power. That's all we need. That's all we're asking for. We're not even asking for this to pass. We just want to vote. And they can't even get us that. It's ridiculous.
Pathetic.
It's pathetic. It's pathetic. It is. You know, I personally have known many people in my own life, and I'm sure everyone can attest to this, those who have suffered at the hands of this brutal system that we have in this country that prioritizes corporate greed over the health and well-being of the people that make this country run on a daily basis. So it's absolutely devastating, and we need a change. So I hope from the bottom of my heart that the progressives will do something, won't just sit on their asses all day, will actually do something and leverage their political power that they've told us and worked with us to accumulate to actually fight for Medicare for all and fight for a vote on this policy that we desperately need right now. So, you know, I don't know if it's going to happen. And that's a very sad thing.
Doesn't matter.
Because, like I said at the start of this march, 2 years ago, they were thinking about running Barbara Lee against Speaker Pelosi, now Speaker Pelosi, for the House Speakership position. They said Barbara Lee would make a great progressive challenger. She claims to be a supporter of Medicare for all.
Claims. Proof.
Now we've helped them, we've donated to them, we've made calls for them, we've organized for them. We've gotten more progressives into Congress. We have Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush, Mondaire Jones, and a handful of others. Mark Siegel. These people all support Medicare for all. But what good is that if you're not willing to fight for it? I've seen a lot of people talk about, you know, leftist infighting that's been taking place. In my eyes, if you're not fighting for Medicare for all, then how can you call yourself a leftist?
Right. No, people are being exposed. That's what's happening.
Exactly.
Great unmasking.
Mr. Great Unmasking.
Great unmasking.
Yes, sir. Franco, would you like to say a few words? All right. And invite Franco on. Give him a round of applause, everybody.
What's going on? Hello? Hello? You guys hear me?
Texas thing.
technical difficulties.
You got a back up?
Yep. I would just stand behind it so you don't get any feedback. And I wouldn't hand the microphone because it'll call staff.
Hello? What's going on? You guys hear me well? So, in 1962, JFK said, what we are talking about doing, most of the countries in Europe did years ago. The British did it 30 years ago. Again, that was in 1962. It's now almost 60 years since that speech and 90 years since the British got universal health care. We are beyond the pale of being behind. And now the so-called quote-unquote progressives, who we elected to represent us, who we elected to fight for us against corporatist politicians like Nancy Pelosi, are telling us we have to wait longer. Amidst a pandemic and a post-Bernie 2016 era in which even the majority of Republicans now want universal health care. This is beyond disgusting. It's insane to think about how we still do not have universal health care in the richest country our planet has ever seen. And now people are beginning to realize that it is not normal. Our mainstream media and establishment politicians' old tricks of indoctrinating us into thinking this is just the way things aren't working anymore, and that's why we are all here today. We are here to make noise. We are here to make noise for the millions of Americans who have died from lack of health care, men and women who have sacrificed their labor to enrich the elite of this country. Children whose parents sacrificed their labor to feed them, but also to overstuff the elite into financial obesity. The elite prefer for the future of our society. The elite prefer to live blissfully with their gluttonous addiction to money and the power instead of investing in our children for the future of our society. The pharmaceutical and private health insurance industries do not want their unhealthy addiction to money at the expense of human lives and suffering to get treated. And neither does Nancy Pelosi and her addiction to money, power, and rich branded ice cream. I'm really proud to see you all out here fighting. A lot of you are young. All of us are working class. The people who I'm about to call out, I call out in order to raise awareness about who doesn't actually care about you. These are people that shouldn't be admired. This isn't the difference in strategy, this is the difference in the level of care. And these people do not care about you. These people aren't here like we are here, or aren't even supporting us from afar. You know who isn't here? The so-called quote-unquote leaders of the progressive movement and the quote-unquote home of progressives, TYT. I don't see anyone with an MSNBC contract or anyone who works for somebody who has an MSNBC contract here. And most disappointingly, I do not see the man who said he would be an organizer-in-chief and would fight with us tooth and nail to give us health care. Where is Bernie Sanders? Where is AOC? Where is the squad? All of these so-called leaders are in their mansions, sitting comfortably with their government health care and telling us that we have to wait They're giving us excuses that are no different than the bought-out neocons like Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi. You know what James Cedar said a couple weeks ago? He said that universal health care would take 12 years at least to pass. According to a 2009 Harvard study, 45,000 Americans die every year from lack of health care. According to a PNHAP poll, 56 of adult Americans reported medical financial problems in 2019. You can ask him for questions about this. After the massive increase in healthcare loss as a result of shutdowns by the pandemic, the number of people who die every year from lack of healthcare is expected to increase. But let's assume that 45,000 deaths per year. That is more than 500,000 Americans that will die after 12 years. In the richest country that the world has ever seen, that is unacceptable. But that urgency doesn't seem to strike Sam Cedar to take action outside of electoral politics. Jake Huger was telling his audience lies about how we'll have a Republican if Nancy Pelosi isn't voted as Speaker. That is a disingenuous lie, and I wouldn't be surprised if his union-busting ego knows it's a lie. What kind of journalist or commentator with a platform that big doesn't do deep enough research to know that if Nancy Pelosi doesn't get the speakership position, that it would just go back to the House for another vote, still with a majority of Democrats, and vote again. And when they vote for a speaker again, the same conditions stand. No vote for anyone, not just Pelosi, but anyone, unless they agree to put an 80-plus year late policy, Medicare for All, up for a vote in the House during a pandemic. Instead, Cenk Uygur is sending out emails begging working class people who've lost their jobs and their health insurance to donate money to his organization that will just take that money and then tell them to wait. So if Cenk and Anna and Ben Dixon and Sam Cedar and Emma Vigilant and Jamie Peck and all these other fake progressives care more about AOC's career and making money off of Bernie's legacy and then begging working class people for money just so they can later fundraise off electing our oppressors like Joe Biden, then they care about the millions suffering, then they aren't genuine leaders. They are careerists, propagandists, and self-serving grifters for the Democratic Party. The same party that is identical to the Republican Party in terms of who funds them, imperialism, and denying people their basic needs so that they can enrich their donors. The masks are off. They don't care about the urgency. They don't care about your struggle. And no matter what happens on the 3rd, we will keep fighting. We will keep informing ourselves with objective information. We will keep building our communities online and on the ground. We will keep exposing the synthetic left. We will keep pressuring our politicians until we get the things that we need. Thank you all so much. I love you all. Keep fighting.
All right, everybody, we're still going good for now. All right, next I want to invite up Nick Grana of the People's Party to speak and say a few words. So, Nick, if you'd like to say a few words, are you ready? All right. Give Nick a warm round of applause. Thank you, Nick, for everything you've been working on.
Hey, big round of applause to Jackson who put this all together. Bree, myself, many others organized the town hall around this a couple nights ago. And so I was personally very grateful that Jackson and others were willing to take on this event and really have a direct action presence, because we need that. We need to stop asking and we need to start demanding. Medicare for All was, forcing a vote on Medicare for All was the centerpiece of the DSA strategy just a year ago, until apparently a movement arose about it. Here's the movement to make that happen. There are organizations on the left. This has been a moment that has really been disappointing, I think, to many of us on the left, because now this is so desperately needed. Like so many of us know, there were 30 million people who were already uninsured before coronavirus. Another 15 million people have lost their health insurance during coronavirus. We're the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care as a human right. That's wrong. It's wrong. This is our greatest moment of leverage. Yes! They are never going to need us more than they do now. We have to make use of this. What good is a PAYGO exemption for Medicare for all if you can't bring Medicare for all to the floor of the House? Okay. All right. Just finish it. All right. So apparently we're going to head back to Spirit of Justice Park. But not before. We have to remind them who's in charge. What we're doing here is not radical. It shouldn't be controversial. If we were doing it for establishment politicians, none of the left would have a problem with it. We're saying you ran and you campaigned on Medicare for all. This is your moment. This is your moment to get it done. Get it done now. Bring it to the floor of the House. Force the vote. Force the vote. Force the vote. Force the vote. Force the vote! 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 All right!
All right, everybody. So we're going to make our way back to Spirit of Justice Park, where we're going to continue with more speakers, because apparently the Capitol Police want to arrest us. Even though this is free speech ground, they don't want people out here pressuring politicians.
Free speech! 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 Free speech!
I'm not looking to get arrested yet. All right, everybody. So we're going to continue back to Spirit of Justice Park so we can demonstrate peacefully without them fucking us up. So let's go.
How is this a pressure? It's like, I can see if it was 2,000 people, it's only 250 people here. How is this pressure? I've never been here. This is not even pressure.
All right, everybody. What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? If we don't get it, if we don't get it, what do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? If we don't get it, if we don't get it, shut it down. I said if we don't get it, shut it down. What do we want? Medicare for all. Now. What do we want? Medicare for all. Now. What do we want? Medicare for all. When do we want it? Now. If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down. We're in the middle of a pandemic. If we don't get it, shut it down. Don't drop the ball. Medicare for all. Don't drop the ball. Medicare for all. Don't drop the ball. Medicare for all. Force the vote. 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 Medicare for all. What do we want? Medicare for all. What do we want?
healthcare's all about. Everybody in, nobody out. That's what healthcare's all about. Everybody in, nobody out. That's what healthcare's all about.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
If we don't get it,
Shut it down.
what do we want?
Medicare for all.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicare for all.
When do we want it?
Now.
Force the vote.
Medicare for all.
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 United States of America.
A Medicare for all. If we don't get it,
Shut it down.
if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
force the vote.
Your house is Can
Force the vote.
I say, okay,
If we don't get it,
Shut it down.
if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
what was your oath?
we must demand of these corrupt politicians that they serve the people that got them elected. Nancy Pelosi is nothing but an imperialist power broker. She has no leg to stand on. We must demand these progressives either fight or get out of the way, because we do not have 12 years to wait. We have thousands of Americans across this country losing their jobs and struggling on a daily basis, while people like Ocasio-Cortez sit in their gilded halls of power questioning when they should take action, whether or instead of the actions that they should take. That is why we are here, to demand that people be represented for the first time in this decade. All right. So we avoided that issue. Fuck Capitol Police. Fuck Metro Police. All right. Brianna, would you like to come say a few words? All right. Everyone, give a round of applause for Brianna Joy Gray. Thank you for being here.
Hey everyone. I gotta say, this is an incredibly humbling and heartening experience. You know, a year ago today, I would never have imagined standing here, in part because I imagined we might be inaugurating a president who actually believed in the principles that we're here for today. But what's particularly disheartening for me in this moment is to realize that although we talked in really exigent terms in the course of that campaign, we talked about healthcare being a human right and that it was an exigent crisis. We talked repeatedly about the fact that 68,000 people die every year from a lack of healthcare. We talked about these issues like nothing could wait. And now I'm realizing in this moment that a lot of the people that I respected in both the left media and in politics seem comfortable with the idea that the timeline is now being extended by years, if not decades. And that has been a real mask-off moment for me and for a lot of us, I think. You know, I feel like sometimes I was just the most naive person in the world because I actually believed the things that we said. There was a reason that I felt compelled to leave a fairly comfortable job to go into left journalism, because I believed that certain things needed to be said because we couldn't wait. And there was a reason that I left my job in journalism that I loved and believed in to go and join a campaign and give up a certain amount of security, because I believed that it was worth it for what we were fighting for at the end of the day was worth it. And now to hear that a lot of people seem to believe that we could extend these timelines, that the things that we said was just mere sloganeering, is really disheartening. But what is heartening is seeing how many of you are willing to stand up and keep saying what is right and keep speaking truth to power no matter what the consequences are. Because some of us aren't angling for MSNBC contracts. Some of us aren't in this for a career in politics or a job on the Hill. And I take seriously what some people have said and the objections that they've had about the idea that we should be coming to this from a place of love as opposed to anger. But I don't think that those things are mutually exclusive.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And I think that a lot of people are angry because too many people have lost the folks that they loved. I want to talk a little bit about the specifics of what we're fighting for and what is kind of behind the mask off moment. Why we feel like we can't keep giving politicians the benefit of the doubt. I think a lot of us here probably worked hard to get people like AOC elected. The reality is we thought that she would do her duty, and that's why people like Justin Jackson online put to her kindly, openly, hey, AOC, what about this? What about this idea? What about this strategy? Have you considered it? And it was not until the response that we got was so superficially empty. It wasn't until we were told, oh, we can't do this right now because we need to use this leverage to get a $15 minimum wage that's already passed the House, that Joe Biden has already signed on to. It's not that we're not willing to give people the benefit of the doubt, but they can lose that benefit when they throw it back in our faces and expect us to just eat the excrement that they're shoveling, for lack of a better word. You know? So we've been told, I've been told, I'll personalize it. I've been told that I'm naive, that this is electoralism, that this is voluntarism.
Bullshit.
But the reality of the situation is this is one of the few times that the left has held real power. We did the thing they're advocating for. We worked to get a critical number of progressives in Congress. They're there now, and finally we're in a situation where they have enough power to actually do the thing many of them ran on, which is to oust Nancy Pelosi. You know? At the very least, at the bare minimum, they can use that leverage to extract substantive concessions for the policies that they have said are existential concerns, that were existential concerns before we got in the middle of a global pandemic in which 15 million people have been kicked off of their employer-based health insurance. And now we're being told that this isn't the right time to have a public conversation about the frailties of our healthcare system, that there is no benefit to having a debate at the highest halls of power, that there is no benefit to having a public debate in which the members of the squad and other compelling speakers can call out members of both parties who take obscene amounts of money from these industries to pretend that we can't have Medicare for all in the richest country in the history of the world. I'm sorry, there is no amount of outrage that is overstated. And I just want to say that I hope you guys continue to feel confident and entitled to make the kind of trouble that you're making right now. Because for a lot of years, I'll confess, I didn't feel that way. You know, I sat in my apartment on quarantine like a lot of people over the course of the summer, and I watched the protests and I walked in the protests, and I waited for a moment for people to start to connect the anger of the people in the streets to the people who are legislating and the people who are advocating to be in the highest branches of government, who were saying nothing about the issue. And when they did say something about the issue, they said, let's fund the police more. And I waited for some of these leaders on the left to say, wait a minute, it's not just Republicans who are causing the problems. You know, that there is responsibility on both sides of the aisle, and the people who want to be president of the United States in this moment should be accountable to the movement in the street, a movement that was the largest social justice movement in American history. And I sat and I waited patiently because I trusted in leadership. And I said, well, I'm not an organizer, I don't have experience, let me just wait to see if someone else steps up. But I gotta say, I'm tired. I'm tired of waiting. I don't see help coming from any secret ranks. I don't think there's any secret plots happening. I don't have a lot of confidence that there's secret strategizing happening behind the scenes. And I've seen how people lose their minds if you say the simple truth. I am old enough to remember trending for an entire day on Twitter because I had the audacity to simply say, hey, Kamala, it's really good that you want to cover people for having COVID.
Right.
But how is that any different from people who are sick or dying from other kinds of ailments, like diabetes or cancer? You know, we are facing an accountability crisis fundamentally in this country. The reason that we don't have Medicare for all is because the people in leadership aren't willing to say who is responsible for us not having Medicare for all. 88% of Democrats support this policy, and nearly 50% of Republicans do as well. And yet barely 50% of House Democratic membership supports Medicare for all. That gulf is not there because the people don't want it. It's because no one is holding leadership accountable to their constituents. We have a media apparatus that's completely unwilling to play. We have a lefty media apparatus that's largely silent on this issue as well. And when we do have opportunities, no one is willing to name names and call out members of Congress, including people who are civil rights heroes, you know, including people like Jim Clyburn, who happens to take more money from the pharmaceutical industry than anybody else in Congress. We can't be afraid to say these kinds of things. At the end of the day, without accountability, we're not going to make any progress in this area. And it's going to be uncomfortable, and there are going to be people that we all have liked and supported and admired and fought for and donated to and marched for that are going to be uncomfortable, that are going to be targets of this kind of criticism. As they should be. They took this job because they wanted to be public servants, not because they wanted to be celebrity public figures. And it's going to be hard because they are beloved. And you are going to be vilified and called every name in the book. You're going to be Bernie Bro to death. But here's the thing. We've been through it before. We're battle tested and thick skinned. And most importantly, we know we all have each other's back. And that sense of solidarity is the most important and precious thing to me right now. And I gotta say, just on a personal note, it has meant so much to me to know that there is so much real grassroots support for all of these issues that is bigger and bolder and stronger than any of the commitment that was given to any singular candidate or political campaign. We believe in issues, not just individual people, and that is the greatest strength of this movement. So I feel like I've been going on for a really long time. I just want to say thank you so much for not stopping this fight. Please continue to let me know how I can boost and uplift this movement in any way possible. I want to thank everyone who organized this event today. And this is just the first of many. The first of many. Thank you. Force the vote.
Thank you, Brianna. All right. Damn, that was cool. Okay, so next I want to bring up Lee Camp, say a few words. Everyone give Lee a big round of applause.
Force the vote! Force the vote! Force the vote! Force the vote! All right, it's exciting to be here. Thanks, everybody, for coming out, for giving of your time to get health care for your fellow Americans. God, what a crazy thing to demand. I mean, as many people have mentioned, we're in the middle of a goddamn pandemic, and they say now is not the time. You know, we're nearly 90% of Democrats support Medicare for all, and they say now is not the time. 90%! You can't get 90% of people to support anything. You couldn't get 90% of Democrats to support free ice cream, for fuck's sake. 70% of all Americans, including Democrats, Republicans, support Medicare for all. And the other 30% need Medicare because they're eating paint chips. And they say now is not the time. 14 million Americans have already lost their employer-based health care in this pandemic. And we're told now is not the time. 1 out of every 3 Americans, the latest study, 1 out of every 3 Americans said in the past month they've had trouble paying for food or paying bills. You think they can pay for our insane healthcare system in the middle of that? 1 out of every 3 Americans, adults, and they say now is not the time. The U.S. is the only industrialized country in the world without health care for their citizens, and the richest country in the world, and they say now is not the time. Think about that. Try and process that for a second. Algeria and Botswana provide health care for their people, and we can't do it. Egypt, Ghana, Morocco, Seychelles provide health care for their citizens, and America can't do it. Tunisia, the Bahamas, Canada, Costa Rica, Mexico, Cuba, Trinidad and Tobago.
And they say now is not the time, and America can't do it. Argentina, Brazil, Chile, they give their citizens health care, and America can't do it. Colombia, Peru, Bhutan, China, Georgia, India, Indonesia, and they say America can't do it. Israel provides health care for their citizens, and knowing our relationship, it's probably us paying their health care. Japan, the Maldives, Philippines, Singapore, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, Thailand, Albania, they give their citizens health care, and America can't do it. Austria, Belgium, Croatia, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Iceland, they give their citizens health care, and we can't do it. Iceland, the Isle of Man, sorry, that's not PC, the Isle of People, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, Romania, even the dastardly Russia gives their people health care. The evil, evil Russia somehow is able to give their citizens health care, and we can't do it. Serbia, Spain, Sweden, Turkey, the UK, Austria, New Zealand, and Macau. Wow, to Macau. They give their citizens health care, and yet here in the United States, we can't fucking do it. It's insane, it's bananas, it's disgusting, it's a crime against humanity. And yet they say now is not the time. The other thing they love to say, which is the reason Joe Biden threatens to veto it, is because they say we don't have the money. We can't afford it. Where are we going to get the money? A military budget that's over $700 billion a year. Really $1 trillion when you factor in all the secret shit. And they say we can't afford it. We don't have the money. $21 trillion of unaccounted for adjustments in the Pentagon's finances. And they say we don't have the money to give everyone health care. They give billions to other countries so they can buy weapons. And yet we don't have the money for health care for our own people. Billions of subsidies to oil companies, and we don't have money for our own people's health care. Billions of subsidies to factory farms, one of the biggest polluters in the planet. We throw out 40% of all food, but we'll fund that, and we won't fund our own people's health care. We allow criminal billionaires to hide their trillions in tax havens so that they don't pay into our country that made them that insanely rich, and yet we don't have the money to pay for our citizens' health care. We don't have the money is the biggest lie ever told. It is horseshit. There is plenty of money to fund our citizens' health care. And what we're up against is something very powerful, because a large Princeton study has shown that if something is put before Congress and it does not align with corporate interests, then it has a near 0% chance of getting passed. And that study shows more than anything else that the Congress has been captured. They have been captured by corporate interests. They've been captured by the rich. They've been captured by the billionaires. And it is only people like you standing up that will ever get something through Congress that doesn't align with corporate America, what they want to do, and their profit margin. Thank you guys, and keep fighting.
Everyone give another big round of applause for Lee Camp. That was amazing. That was fucking amazing. Holy shit. Whew. Okay. I would like now to invite up the famous Savage Joy to share her story. You know, many of you may have seen Savage Joy speak on the Jimmy Dore Show's Medicare for All town hall. I found it to be the most moving part of the entire town hall, and there was many incredible stories and motivational people who spoke about this healthcare crisis on that town hall, and not to take away from any of them, but Savage Joy, your story I think resonated with a lot of people who are hurting right now, and I just want to say thank you for being willing to share your story and open up. Because I think a lot of people are feeling that pain right now. So thank you. Without further ado, Savage Joy, give her a big round of applause.
because my glasses are standing up. Thank you so much for coming out today. This is a great crowd considering it's, a pandemic and shit. So thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for Jackson for inviting me. Thank you to Nick for inviting me to the town hall. Thank you to Ryan Knight for giving me his spot. Thank you to Bree for being one of my heroes. Just thank you to everyone. It's been an amazing few days. It really has. And thank you to my friend Joan, who drove me here from Harrisburg because I can't drive.
Oh, yeah,
I can't even attempt to quantify the amount of touching, loving, supportive messages and comments I've received since the town hall on Wednesday. It truly is astounding. It means more to me than you guys can ever fathom. Last night, I told my therapist that I made hundreds of people cry. Literally in one night. I kind of had to explain it then, but I was kind of proud. I think that's a skill. So, there's so much going on with what is trending and things like that. And, we had 130,000 views on the town hall. And someone's name was trending, not Medicare for all. That's a problem. Is our movement not about the issues? I thought we were. I thought for 5 years we have said, it doesn't matter if it's gonna pass. We're fighting for Bernie. We're fighting for this. We're fighting for these things. What the hell has changed? Nothing. The only thing that's changed is some of the people we considered comrades are using some shit lib explanations of why we shouldn't do this. There are going to be people who are watching today who are looking to find something to edit a clip of. Guarantee. So, yeah, and to them I say, we're fighting for your asses too.
Amen.
I was called a grifter yesterday for the first time after having a show for over 3 years. I was kind of proud. And to that I say, my 12 patrons want a word for you. Love you, 12. Love you. Our town hall was one of the most important things I have ever done in my life. I didn't intend on saying a lot of the things I said, but just kind of went with it and wanted to be transparent. So I asked that we focus on Medicare for all. Compassion should have no contingencies. Within hours of thank you. Within hours of speaking at the town hall, I got a bill for an ambulance ride for $748. I have insurance. So thanks for the $600 stimulus, I guess. So I digress a little, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Joy Marie Mann. I have a show called Savage Joy, the Unruly Hour, and I co-wrote the parody Resistance book, basically with Peter Douche, called the Yes Queen Chronicles. If you want to learn more about how I wrote while losing my sight and what the book is about, you can check out Miss Nina Turner's latest podcast. I live in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, as I said, and last year I went to sleep one night and I woke up with most of my sight gone. I thought perhaps I was still sleeping. I was totally disoriented and just kind of overwhelmed. When something like that happens, you really don't know how to handle it. I asked my husband to hand me my glasses. I put them on and saw no difference. It was as if I suddenly put a blindfold on. A state of confusion overwhelmed me. I struggled to get dressed, and my husband took me to the hospital. It was there I was diagnosed with a rare disorder named myopic degeneration. Since 2019, my entire life has changed. There was no progression of my losing sight. It was instant. To say it's been traumatic is an understatement of epic proportions. I lost my job. I was a contractor, so it was completely legal. Ironically, I've worked in healthcare for over 10 years. I stopped being able to do many of the things I love. I was an English major and now find myself unable to read books. I am 41 years old and have an appointment with a doctor to spend the day with me at my house to show me how to do things that I've done all my life. Something as simple as trying to put a pen cap on will send me into tears. It takes many tries to do things we've all done so many times so thoughtlessly. I constantly walk into things and fall down. My life has been uprooted. 1 year ago today, despite everything, I decided to move from Pennsylvania to Iowa for 5 weeks to campaign for Bernie Sanders. It was a struggle in so many ways. I'm not allowed to drive. I only knew one person. I'd never been to Iowa, yet somehow I was convinced I could still go door to door in 4 degrees on ice. I think a lot of it was denial. The reason I bring this up is because one of the highlights of those 5 weeks was meeting Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. I tried to tell her how much her fight for Medicare for all meant to me, but my words could not escape my sobs. Rashida grabbed my hands and cried with me. I told her I was terrified of what was to come. She embraced me for minutes. It gave me hope to have genuine support and kindness from someone I respect so much. So I guess my question to Rashida is, are you the same person who cried with me? Are you the same person who hugged me? Are you the same person who shared my post about being so emotional and it meaning so much to me? Since Iowa, I have eye injections, which are over $12,000 for each eye every 30 days. And I've had 2 recent eye surgeries, which even with insurance leaves me thousands of dollars in debt. Not to mention my $5,000 deductible, which literally started over yesterday. I was visually impaired, then legally blind, and now I'm visually disabled, all within less than a year. Someone from the Netherlands reached out to me yesterday. She told me she gets the same eye injections and has never paid a dime. Make no mistake, what our country is doing to us is violence. This is violence. People are dying in the streets. People are rationing insulin. People are going without medication. They are being essentially murdered. This is why this is so important that all of you guys are out here today. This is why. It's time people stand up to these so-called progressives and say, we elected you.
That's right. Yes.
I do not share my traumatic story with you to scare you, because my disorder is quite rare. But I wanted to share it with you because even though some of you are so fortunate to not need Medicare for All right now, you may very well need it tomorrow. Or someone you love. On top of having your life turned upside down when becoming disabled, why the hell should that pain be exacerbated by pre-authorizations, calling insurance companies, having to wait for things? The one time when I needed an eye injection, I was told I had to wait until it was approved as medically necessary. Like, who in the hell would choose to get a needle in their eye? Is that some kind of kink I don't know about? Seriously. So I was out of work without pay for 2 weeks until I could get that injection. Now, I'm going through Social Security disability, which is a hell of another story by itself. So, something that I wasn't expecting, maybe because of denial, is the overwhelming depression that you feel when you suddenly have to ask your 80-year-old dad to take you places and your husband to make you something to eat and things like that. I'm a very independent and self-sufficient person, and some days I hope I don't wake up in the morning. That's the truth. And I know I'm not alone in that. My question to Congressman Ro Khanna is, are you the same person I interviewed on my show 4 times and continuously voiced your support for Medicare for All? Are you the same Ro who has shared my posts about my mounting medical needs or medical bills and stated it's unacceptable? My question to AOC is, are you the same person who sat on my show and told me that you're an activist and that you would fight regardless and would always fight for Medicare for All? We may not be your constituents, but make no mistake, we got you elected.
That's right.
You campaign as an activist. Where are those activists now? I can't comprehend how there is trepidation of pissing off people who already loathe you. People like Pelosi, who you refer to as Mama Bear, who have done nothing but insult you, belittle you, and block you. Why are you worrying about what she, of all people, thinks? You don't even have to treat this like some damn grandiose gesture. You just take a stand with other reps and thousands of supporters like us.
Yes.
There is no doubt the establishment is waiting with their mimosas if you don't join us. Guarantee the establishment knows about Force the Vote. Guarantee. The GOP and the DCCC, who is the DNC bastard child, was just praising AOC yesterday. They know, and they are hoping that she disregards the people who are supposed to be her comrades.
We shall see.
Fingers crossed. Force the vote.
Force the vote. Yes.
So Some people say it won't pass anyway, but they're missing the point. Whether it passes or not, this weekend is important because if we stand up and fight for it, that is also a victory.
Yes. Yes. Fight for us. Woo!
If it was a bad strategy, you know Pelosi would have done that shit a while ago. As someone who has become disabled, it is frustrating to see people who say they have no medical bills and no medical needs say now is not the time. Well, the fucking time was years ago. We have a president-elect who couldn't care less. We have a president-elect who said he would veto Medicare for all if it came across his desk. We have a man who made Medicare for all a household term, who wrote the damn bill, who has been shafted yet again. Give us some kind of hope. Something. I love the saying, the power of the people is stronger than the people in power. But are we? If our own so-called allies aren't even going to represent us, you need to choose your loyalty. Is it the people who got you elected, who you promised to fight for? Or is it the people who continuously disrespect you and belittle you? Although my diagnosis is rare, I am nobody special. There are millions of me. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. We fight for those who are hurting. We fight for the hopeless. We fight for a better and healthier tomorrow. Never, ever lose your sense of outrage. And you're damn fucking right, force the fucking vote. Thank you, guys.
Big round of applause. Big round of applause. Also, I do want to show everyone, you were talking about your book. Right here. This is Savage Joy's book. Very cool. Yes, the Yes Queen Chronicles. So thank you, Savage Joy, for speaking. I mean, I think I speak for everyone here when I say like that. Those are the stories that get us all here today, you know. And even if like not everyone here has been personally impacted in some capacity, I mean, we all have. Whether you have a story similar to Joy's or whether you're hemorrhaging tens of thousands of dollars every month to pay for your ridiculous health insurance, everyone has been personally impacted by this in some way or another. So thank you, Joy, for speaking.
Thank you so much for having me.
So today is the last full day before they take the speakership vote, and I know most people here understand what's going on. I want to just arm you guys with a few facts if you do take to Twitter or YouTube comment sections or something before this vote takes place. There's been some conspiracy spread that a Republican could potentially earn the House speakership position. I think it was a Cenk Uygur who put that one out.
What's the difference?
That's the thing. That's the thing. So the odds of that happening exactly are very, very slim because it would take Democrats voting for a Republican as speaker. But as the crowd just pointed out, the Republicans are not that different from the Democrats right now, and I think we all know that, and that's why we're here. But you know, this really is a crisis moment. I think if there ever was a moment to push for something like this, it would be right now. It would be right now. 90 million people already didn't have health insurance or full health insurance going into this pandemic. Since then, 15 million people have lost their health insurance. That's ridiculous. That's a joke. That's pathetic. And the fact that we now have these progressive champions in Congress, in those offices right there, sitting idly by as more and more people die every fucking day is ridiculous. And that's why we're here today. I want to say one thing also. You know, we're about 2 years out from the next set of elections. And there's always talks about litmus tests, about how do we define who's actually progressive, who is actually left, who's actually going to fight for us here today. And those litmus tests have changed over the years, right? It used to kind of be like, okay, well, as long as you don't take corporate PAC money, you're chilling, you got my vote, you got my $5 donation, whatever. Then it was like, okay, let's make sure you guys actually are fighting for progressive policies. Sure, that's great. Now the question is, are you going to strategically use your power once you are in those offices to actually fight for the policies that you say you care about? So in the upcoming elections, I want you to ask whoever is running in your respective districts, regardless of whether they're an incumbent or an insurgent candidate, regardless of whether they are in the squad or they're in the Congressional Progressive Caucus, I want you to ask them, go to town halls, show up on their live streams. I want you to flood their comment sections with questions about, are you actually going to fight? Are you going to stand up and leverage your power? Are you going to withhold the speakership position from another person like Nancy Pelosi if we have the opportunity to keep a majority in the House? At this rate, who knows? Because they keep putting up these candidates that don't support the policies that the overwhelming majority of Americans support. As Lee pointed out, 72% of Americans support Medicare for all. That is per a Fox News poll. That is per a Fox News poll. 49% of Republicans support this policy. And it makes sense. It's going to save us between $450 billion and $650 billion a year. And that's not just me talking. That's a group of Yale epidemiologists talking. I don't know people at Yale, but I feel like they would know what they're talking about. I'd hope they know what they're talking about. It sounds like they know more about what they're talking about than the people in those offices over there. So thank you everyone for coming out today, because this is the moment that we have to fight the hardest. This is the moment. Everyone's eyes are going to be watching this vote tomorrow. It's going to be at about 9 a.m. I'd assume. That's when it was last year. We'll know in the morning what the final decision is. I'm going to be beyond disappointed. I don't even have words to explain how disappointed and mad and angry I'm going to be if every single member who says they support Medicare for all do not make any negotiations, do not even attempt to make any negotiations with Nancy Pelosi. We have more than enough people. There's over 100 co-signers on Medicare for all. We only need 8. We only need 8 people to have a fucking spine and do the right thing. So when the decision is made tomorrow, again, everyone's eyes are going to be on it. And I do think this is going to have the potential to change these people's careers, because we make up their donor base. We make up their volunteer base. If they don't have our support, what are they going to do? Nancy Pelosi's not going to magically befriend AOC because she sided with her once. That's not how it works. Nancy Pelosi knows that AOC, at the end of the day, doesn't align with her on most issues, even if she's not willing to fight for them. So these people's careers will be ruined. And I want everyone to be there watching this, because this is the moment. We're in the middle of a pandemic. If there's any time to fight for Medicare for all, it's right now. And I don't want anyone to tell you otherwise. I know there are some people saying, now's just not the right time. Now's not the right time. There's only 105 million Americans who are underinsured or uninsured. Well, let's wait till 200 million. It's not going to cut it. We got to fight right now. Right now is too late, as we just heard from Savage Joy's story. Right now is too late. It's far too late. There are people dying because of this. Every single day that we wait is 168 more people that die preventable deaths because we don't have health insurance. 68,000 people per year who die because we don't have basic health insurance in this country. It's a uniquely American problem. So I want to thank all of you for coming out today. We're going to be back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. We're not going to be marching over there probably because, well, we'll march over there, but we're not going to stay over there because they're about to arrest people. And I wasn't about to do that, considering the jails are probably filled with COVID right now, unfortunately, due to the way they've been handling it. So thank you everyone for coming out. Let's fucking force the vote. Force the vote! 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 Force the vote!
everybody. Thank you. Thank you. By the way, there's a Julian Assange action happening. Is there one happening today? Tomorrow at noon. So if you, I'm not saying you have to be if you're here, but if you are interested in advocating for, I don't know, press freedom, freedom of speech, Julian Assange, at the Department of Justice building, there's going to be a Julian Assange action. That's the Monday one. It's tomorrow at the UK Embassy?
Yes.
Tomorrow, UK Embassy, the Department of Justice. We're going to be here 9 a.m. They're going to be there at noon, and some of us are going to be there as well. So if you'd like to participate in both, you can. You probably see the time right now. It's only 11. You say you have plenty of time. So we're going to have more speakers tomorrow. And I hope to see you all here. Even though it's going to be raining, maybe bring an umbrella. And thank you everyone for coming again. I appreciate it.
Northwest. Yeah, way up. Rich Northwest. Yeah, it's like, like another violent city outside. I live in DC. Oh, okay, cool. So, yeah, I've ever seen
Hey everyone, thank you for watching. Again, we're live right now in Washington, D.C. at the Spirit of Justice Park for the Force the Vote action. It's the first of 3 days. We had a few really great speakers here. If you were with us the whole time, you saw sort of the silly progression that happened. We meant to go over to that building over there to speak on the steps, but the Capitol Police really quickly threatened everybody with arrest, and everybody came back here to the Spirit of Justice Park, which is where the rally began. So we started here, we did a little march around a couple of buildings, stopped over there, and then got threatened with arrest because we had no permit, and headed back over here. If you would like more information about Force the Vote, or if you would like to sign the petition, if you haven't already, you can go to forcethevote.org. And tune in again tomorrow and the next day for the rest of the events. There'll be some different speakers on those days too. Thanks everybody for watching.